All right, practical alchemy. So I ran across a really great, like full length interview with an alchemist who is actually um, practically using alchemy and dissertating on the use of alchemy in that way, as opposed to alchemy being something which he specifically states in Eastern tradition as being a lot more focused on the mental, on the energy and the consciousness part of it. Now, think about this, like the consciousness part about alchemy is the most important essential element. Hermeticism, Hermes Trismegistus, Thoth, in the Emerald Tablets, they all talk about the universe is mental, all is mind. And so, in the mind space, in the mental space, yes, that's the root, that's the mothership of alchemy. But we, as physical human beings and physical bodies, consuming physical things, having a physical experience, must understand that the practical really relating a lot to the practice, what can be practiced here and now. Yes, the mental space, yes, but incorporating the practice of alchemy into our physical everyday lives is something that's important. Something that I found really interesting about this person's, and I always try and include all the links to all the things that I, cite in my videos in the description box of all my videos. So look down there if I somehow don't cite a name, so forth. Something that I found really interesting is that he talked about the Philosopher's Stone and how a lot of people really get this conception, if they really surfacely, and I did at one point, hear about alchemy. What is it about? Oh, I have heard about the Philosopher's Stone. What is that about? It's about transforming base metal or lead into gold. Now, a lot of people focused maybe on the conscious, like mental alchemy, which has to me is so important. But people focused on that will say or have said, and it's been really overstated, either one way or the other. People who focus on it and know alchemy a little bit say that is just a metaphor. Turning lead into gold is a metaphor. It's not alchemy. And then there's people who don't know a lot about alchemy who will say that is what alchemy is about. And really, the interesting factor is that this fellow saying in the practice of alchemy, which really has a lot to do with physically using plants, minerals, and metals, and alchemically working with them and transforming them into elixirs. Elixirs and medicines, psychomedicines, he calls them, that human beings, involved in this level of practical alchemy can ingest, can take, can be involved with, which will help with longevity, will help with just their well-being physically, but also help transform and their consciousness and help with their consciousness well-being. So the thing that he specifically pointed out, which I just find so incredibly fascinating, is that he pointed out that when this process is going on, where you start really at plants, because our nervous system, our bodies are not used to ingesting a certain level of minerals and metals. So we start with plants when you're working with alchemy and work up to metals, right? When they're making these elixirs, basically you could be fucking up an elixir as a apprentice alchemist, and and the elixir of life, the ultimate elixir, according to this fellow, the ultimate elixir, the elixir of life, which is named the Philosopher's Stone is a liquid, elixir. It's something that is a substance, right? And that substance in particular, which is the ultimate, has been perfected. And when you're making other types of psychomedicine, while you're making them as a, you know, in any case, but especially when you're just learning how to make them as an apprentice, you need to test the nature of their validity, like their to test if they're right or not. That's a simple way to put it. I was trying to think of that awesome word to use, but I couldn't think of it for now. But to test if they're good or if they're not good. Now, if one of the elixirs, if you're working with all sorts of plants, minerals, working up to metals, if you're working with these kind of things, mercury, all these things, as any kind of chemist, alchemist, anybody, botanist, anybody, biologist, geologist, chemist, any kind of person working with the scientific nature of substances and matter like this has to be very careful with it, because if you fuck up, you could pretty much be making poison. Therefore, now I'm not going to say it's the Philosopher's Stone that they're using, but the substance, possibly the Philosopher's Stone, that can change base metal into gold, now, is something that they use to test all elixirs and substances that they are creating. And the test that they test is they take a little bit of that substance to make sure that it's been done perfectly and correctly, and they test it with this other elixir. And if this elixir, if this like way of them doing this medicine that you're making can test on this thing, and if it can pass the test of going from lead to gold, then you know it's not poison. So therefore, this tool, this idea of turning lead to gold is a part of this, like, systemic part of the system, is a part of the phase. It's a tool that is used to help ensure the good nature of all other elixirs, and therefore would be a very, very needed and very valuable substance to an alchemist. As this guy also points out, he's like, well, think about it. If you really know what alchemy is about, if you really start on this process of being an alchemist and being interested in higher consciousness, honestly, from my own personal experience, as soon as I started to become a lot more spiritually aware, I started getting rid of shit out of my life. Like, literally getting rid of material shit out of my life. I was like, I am surrounded by shit. I didn't want to wear the stupid shit that I was wearing. I wanted less jewelry. I wanted less shit. I stopped caring about money. The only reason I really care about money is because I am involved in a system where money is mandatory. Therefore, a true alchemist has no desire for gold, because of wealth or anything like that. I mean, a spiritually minded and spiritually on track person is not like black magicians will go for the gold, will go for the wealth and for the selfish needs of that. That's only stupid people are wanting to transform lead into gold so that they can have this hoard of gold. Alchemists are going for the mind space shit. Elixirs are for the mind. This is for the mind space. This is not for power and control. So therefore, a substance that can turn lead into gold isn't about this, finding a cheap way to hoard an amount of, of energy so that you can just sit and relax all your life. That's not the intention of anybody looking for a higher consciousness. So therefore, it would make a lot more sense in a practical way for the Philosopher's Stone, which would be a substance that can turn lead into gold, would be a substance that you use to test every one of the elixirs that you make and to test its integrity. That's the word I was looking for. Perfect. Good way to end it. Much love, guys. See me on the next round because I'm sure I have more to say.